20 years ago, the entire world collapsed because all computer devices were destroyed, electricity completely failed, the internet stopped working, and authorities built a wall around each city to protect the residents. Criminals were expelled from the city and fought each other to stay alive. Some people's role in life was to deliver valuable shipments from one city to another, risking their lives to deliver the shipment. We meet John and his car, Evelyn. John's car was equipped with weapons and prepared for battles to protect the shipment he carried from theft. Then, highway robbers suddenly attacked him and surrounded him from all sides. John had managed for 20 years to survive dangers like these and gain the trust of the city. Raven assigned him to go pick up a new shipment from Chicago, but it would be a long journey, passing through dangerous roads. Raven told him if he succeeded in this mission, she would give him a permit to live in San Francisco, which is currently considered the best city in America. People in that city live as if the world's end never happened, living comfortably and happily. John was very excited about this offer because he used to live in San Francisco with his family and naturally accepted the mission. Then she gave him a watch and told him he had 10 days to return with the shipment, and if he was late by a second, the mission would be canceled and the offer she made would be void. A few kilometers later, we meet two sisters escaping from the police after stealing a car. The sisters used explosives to escape from the police, but in the end, they were caught. Officer Stone came, and this Stone was trying to restore law and order like before. As punishment for the sisters' car theft, he gave them two options. The first option was for one of them to kill herself because of the theft crime, and the other would live free or both would die. He told them the first option was better, because one would sacrifice herself for the other. In the end, the two decided they wouldn't separate from each other, but seconds later, one of them pulled out a gun, shot himself, and killed himself so his sister could live. Then Stone and his men left a mark on the other sister Quiet's arm, so that anyone who saw her would know she was a criminal. Before John was to receive the shipment, he went to visit a friend to get a map that would help him reach Chicago. Then he continued his journey and met a highway robber who raised a gun at him, wanted to steal his car. John got out calmly, but suddenly put a knife to her neck and raised a gun at her. Then an ice cream truck with weapons approached them, driven by a crazy clown Sweet Tooth. Quiet and John teamed up because they had to get rid of the clown to survive. Then they got into the car and tried to escape from him because the clown's truck, Sweet Tooth, was also equipped with advanced weapons. This Sweet Tooth was a crazy, bloodthirsty person who did no mercy. He told them to stop because he wanted them for something important, but John didn't listen to him, fired at him with the weapons in his car, and immediately Sweet Tooth responded, firing back. John tried to escape from him, and it ended with him entering an old hotel with the car. Because of this incident, John's car broke down. John was trying to fix his car while Sweet Tooth appeared to them. Quiet escaped, and John was getting beaten by Sweet Tooth. But a song played, and Sweet Tooth discovered that he and John had the same taste in music. So Sweet Tooth decided to give him another chance and told John he would perform a show on the stage, asking if he wanted to watch. John agreed to watch to avoid his wrath. On the other side, in the suburbs, we meet Stu Mike, who were imprisoned in a butcher shop. The butcher was about to kill them to feed their bodies to other people. But suddenly someone entered the shop and killed all the cannibals with a single blow to their heads. Officer Stone appeared with his men and invited Stu Mike to join his team because Stone was gathering a large team to restore law in the entire country. Indeed, Stu Mike accepted the offer, and Stone gave them a specific mission they had to complete before joining the team. They had to kill two thieves who stole some supplies from a military base. Immediately, Mike killed the first thief, but Stu saw that it wasn't right to kill people trying to survive in this world. So he pretended to shoot but missed, yet Mike killed the thief, so Stu wouldn't get into trouble. On the other side, Sweet Tooth was preparing to perform his play and told John that he found Quiet hiding in the building. So he locked her up and wanted to see her trapped in a tank until she starved to death. But John convinced Sweet Tooth to release Quiet so they could both enjoy his play. He asked Sweet Tooth what would happen after the play. Sweet Tooth said if he could survive his show, he would let him go and not harm him. Sweet Tooth went on stage and the play ended. He asked John and Quiet for their opinions. Although they were asleep during the show, John told him his show was fantastic. But Sweet Tooth realized John was lying and decided to kill him, but changed his mind. When Quiet gave her opinion and said his show was terrible and she took a nap during it, Sweet Tooth let her go because she didn't lie and told him the truth. When John saw that the strategy worked, he decided to be honest and said the show was garbage. Sweet Tooth took suggestions from them on how to improve his show, then decided to release them. Afterward, He set the hotel on fire and left. John and Quiet walked for hours on the road and reached a checkpoint that wasn't on the map. Quiet saw one of the team members who caused her brother's death. So she got out of the car in a rage, attacked Shepard, but before she could kill him, she and John were electrocuted. Stone's team took them to an interrogation room while Stu searched their cars and discovered they were using a map for their journey. Shepard immediately informed Officer Stone, who personally went to meet John and Quiet and asked them where they got the map. John said he found it on the road and offered it to him. But Stone wanted to know who drew the map to kill them because Stone had spent years building checkpoints, and the person who drew the map knew how to avoid almost all of them. So he ordered his men to do whatever it took to get the name of the person who drew the map. His men beat John and Quiet for hours, but John refused to reveal his friend's name. As punishment for not helping the government, they were sent to the Red Line Gate. Luckily, Stu was the one who took them to the Red Line Gate. When the gate opened, John and Quiet discovered it led to a cliff, and they had to jump and commit suicide. The law said if they didn't jump, they would be shot, and their bodies would be thrown away. But unlike Stone's team, Stu was a compassionate person and couldn't kill them, so he helped them escape. He went with John to look for his car key, while Quiet went to find Shepard. As soon as she found him, she took revenge immediately, beating him until she killed him. At that moment, Mike was walking and found John and Quiet's handcuffs on the ground, so he informed his colleagues that Stu had freed them. The alarm went off, and John and Quiet escaped because he was a traitor. At night, John and Quiet were driving on the road and heard a sound around them. John turned off the car's lights so no one would see them. Suddenly, a light shone around them, and they found themselves surrounded by 4 transport trucks. The back of the truck in front of them opened suddenly, and the truck behind them forced John to enter the truck's back. A woman named what appeared and ordered John and Quiet to get out, saying she wouldn't harm them. All the trucks got close to each other, their boxes connected, and the 3 entered the truck next to them. They discovered people living there normally and even adapting, while John was getting to know the residents. Quiet got a prosthetic finger to replace her severed one. Then Watts introduced them to her grandmother, who said she was very sick and asked John to get her some medicine because she knew he worked as a courier delivering shipments. She told him if he could return to the transport truck with the medicine, she would give him some weapons for his car in return. John agreed because he really needed those weapons. So John moved and reached the location Watts told him about, where they met a woman named Amber who offered them something to drink. Suddenly, John and Quiet vomited, their bodies paralyzed, and she told them they wouldn't be able to move for a certain time. John realized Amber was using human body parts to fertilize her plants and understood it was their turn to be killed for Amber to take their remains. But when Amber read the letter they carried from Watts, she realized they weren't criminals and restored them to normal, apologizing for the mistake. Thinking they were from Holloman's team, she gave them the medicinal plants of grandmother and some extra, and they left. John returned with his car to the transport truck and gave the grandmother plants, but they discovered the plants weren't for treatment. The grandmother wanted them to die peacefully without pain. After drinking the entire potion, she entrusted her granddaughter Watts with the responsibility of controlling the transport trucks. Seconds later, the grandmother died, and her family gathered around her to say goodbye. Then Watts took a car to the road with the grandmother's body inside and blew it up as her grandmother had instructed. Afterward, they celebrated the grandmother's death. Watts contacted Amber, informed her of the grandmother's death, and thanked her for the help. The next morning, John and Quiet returned to the road after the car was equipped with weapons. Quiet had hidden a specific plant she stole from Amber's garden to use it on John for a specific purpose. On the road, they saw an accident and decided to get out and check the car in case they found something useful. Quiet found 2 drinks and gave one to John. After drinking it, he realized Quiet had poisoned him, and he passed out. Quiet was heading to the police station, telling herself she wouldn't find peace until she avenged her brother. She poisoned John and made him lose consciousness, so she wouldn't risk his life or get him involved in her problems. On the other side, she reached the police station, used explosives, and took out the guards while Quiet sneaked into a car, killed 2 officers, and took their car. She reached an identity checkpoint and saw a statue of Officer Stone. One of the officers suspected her, so she quickly escaped. We go to Stu, who was sentenced to death for helping John and Quiet escape. But Sweet Tooth stormed the place and managed to kill all the officers present. Then John woke up and found himself kidnapped by an old man who thought John was dead. When he discovered John was alive, he wanted to kill him, but John killed him first, putting a knife in his eye. Then John found a letter Quiet left on the car's windshield and learned she went back to the police station to take revenge. Sweet Tooth freed the prisoners and paved the way for them to escape from the police station, killing all the officers who stood in his way. Stu was about to be killed, but Sweet Tooth saved him for the second time and killed the officer. From then on, Stu and Sweet Tooth became very close friends. Stu saw Mike hiding behind the boxes, and although Mike had betrayed him before, Stu let him go and didn't harm him. Stu and all the prisoners had nowhere to go, so they decided to roam everywhere. Stu convinced Sweet Tooth to go to all the prisons, kill all the officers, and free all the prisoners. Sweet Tooth agreed, took his men, and moved out. When Officer Stone learned that Quiet had returned, he contacted her through a transmitter and told her to come for a one-on-one fight to settle what happened. Quiet agreed because she wanted to kill him. When she went to the agreed location, Quiet found herself being attacked, and her car flipped over. It turned out to be a trap set by Officer Stone. He sent a missile after her to finish her off, but Quiet managed to survive. When she tried to escape with the car, Stone hit her with another missile, bringing her down. Stone discovered she was still alive, went toward her and shot her, but John appeared at the right moment, saved her, carried her, and took her to a safe place. When Quiet woke up, she was angry because John didn't kill Stone, and because she was now far from the police station. But she realized John risked his life for her, so she fell in love with him. They played bride and groom, and after spending time together, Quiet woke up and decided to go back to the police station. John followed her, trying to stop her. They discovered a strong storm, so they quickly returned to the place they were at to avoid being struck by lightning. They stayed inside until the storm passed. John told her to come with him to San Francisco, and when they delivered the shipment to Chicago, it would make both of them residents in San Francisco. But Quiet refused to live in cities again because she had lived a harsh life in Orange City with her brother. She told him that years ago, she and her brother Lot got a job contract in Orange City, and after 4 years, they would receive a farm as a reward for their service, where they could live in peace away from problems. But when they arrived and worked in Orange City, they found the job wasn't what they thought. The job turned out to be that they would be prisoners for wealthy families. Quiet and Lot were separated, each working in a different place, treated harshly and humiliated by the rich. Those who made mistakes there had parts of their bodies cut off. Quiet's finger was cut off, and the rich used their body parts as jewelry. One day, the two managed to meet in the cafeteria storage where they worked. They had been working there for 3 years, and the only thing keeping them enduring the humiliation was a hope of living a better life in the future. While they were talking, the cafeteria manager appeared, wanting to punish Quiet for not being at her workplace. Lot yelled at the manager, defending his sister. The manager took Lot outside the cafeteria, cut off his ear to keep it, and was about to kill him. But Quiet appeared, killed the manager and his men, and escaped with Lot. But shortly after, Stone appeared, and because of him, her brother Lot died. That's why Quiet wanted to take the harshest revenge on Stone. John learned Quiet had suffered greatly, so he hugged her and comforted her for what happened. They spent that night together. The next morning, they headed to Chicago and reached the place where John was supposed to pick up the shipment. The two entered a building. John took the shipment, and then they moved with the car. They had completed half the mission and returned the same way to San Francisco to deliver the shipment to Raven. A little later, John stopped to refuel, went to buy food, and Quiet was supposed to fill the gas. Quiet then met a woman named Mary, went with her to a bar, and they met John and Mary after John got beat in the face because they were in a relationship before, and John left her to work as a courier. Now, Mary also worked as a courier delivering shipments. When she learned Quiet was currently involved with John, she invited John to go out for a drink to relive the memories they shared. We go back to Sweet Tooth, who gathered many men after passing through several prisons and freeing the prisoners. Then Sweet Tooth went to prison where he grew up and told Stu his story. His mother didn't love him, and her husband forced him to work as an actor to make a lot of money, even though Sweet Tooth didn't want to. He became a very famous and successful actor, but when he realized the audience loved the dog that appeared with him in movies more than him, he ended up in prison. During his entire time in prison, his mother and her husband never visited him. After 10 years, Sweet Tooth got the chance to take revenge because all the prisoners were released after the world's end. So Sweet Tooth went to his mother and her husband, locked them in the prison where he was held until they died. When Stu learned Sweet Tooth's full story, he thought to himself that he was a very crazy person and was afraid he might be his next victim. When Sweet Tooth saw the bodies of his mother and her husband, he looked at his team and was shocked to see them all dead. The police were about to kill Sweet Tooth, but Stu managed to save him. We return to John, who drank a lot and got drunk. Mary talked to him, interrogated him, and asked what he was doing there. Stupid John told her everything about the deal between him and Raven. Mary told all her friends and the couriers about John and Raven's deal. So all those people agreed to steal the shipment from John, to take it to Raven, and live in San Francisco. Immediately, everyone started fighting each other to take the shipment for themselves. Mary got into a fight with Quiet, jealous that John fell in love with another woman and very angry, wanted to kill her. But Quiet managed to kill her with an axe. The battle ended, and the survivors were John, Quiet, and an old man named Sam. While the police were chasing Sweet Tooth, Mike was happy to learn Stu was still alive, but was shocked to see his colleagues dying one after another by Sweet Tooth. Then Sweet Tooth attacked Mike and was about to kill him, but Stu intervened, convinced Mike, and told him Mike would help them find Officer Stone. Sweet Tooth agreed because he wanted to take revenge on Stone for killing his men. John and Quiet returned to the road, and this time Quiet was driving. Quiet found an old picture of John with his family and held it in her hands, but it suddenly flew out of the car window. They had to stop the car and look for it. When they found the picture, they discovered Holloman's team had stolen the car and escaped. John got very angry because this would delay him from delivering the shipment to Raven, besides the fact that he loved that car so much and had it for 20 years. They had to walk on foot with no other solution. Quiet kept apologizing to him, but John completely ignored her, thinking only about how to get it back. We returned to Sweet Tooth, who, along with Stu, captured Mike, who knew where Officer Stone was. Sweet Tooth headed to Stone's location to take revenge on him for the map, but they had an accident on the road. While trying to get the car back on the road, a thief came and raised a weapon at her to steal her car, but the thief ended up shot in the head, and the one who fired was Amber, who appeared with a transport truck. She let Quiet into the transport truck, and they discovered John was also there. John approached her to apologize, but Quiet ignored him and walked away. Still, she was relieved to know John was alive. While the people in the transport truck were fixing Quiet's car, John came to Quiet again and apologized for abandoning her. She told him she was very upset when she saw the explosion and thought he was dead, saying he only thought about himself. John gave her an axe as a gift to prove he was truly sorry. Quiet forgave him. Suddenly, a message came that Stone and his men were on watch transport trucks. Then John and Quiet finished fixing their car, equipped it with weapons, and went down the road. They all reached the place where Stone and his men were. Things were calm at first until Stone fired the first shot at them. After that, Stone's men started shooting. Watts was preparing to enter the battle with her car, and suddenly two of Stone's cars exploded, blown up by Sweet Tooth. Thus, Sweet Tooth officially ended the battle and ordered Stu to set his head on fire to pose a greater threat to the enemies. The war began between the three groups. Sweet Tooth helped John and Watt's team eliminate the police with great courage, shooting with the car and killing Stone's men. Then Sweet Tooth saw them, greeted them, and was happy to see them. Stone targeted John and Quiet's car, sent a missile after them, and chased them. But Watts intervened, lured the missile with a racing car, and managed to make the missile hit a police car. Amber was driving a transport truck, but ended up shot in the neck. Her friend tried to stop the bleeding. At the same time, a missile hit the transport truck with Amber. Stu asked Sweet Tooth why he did that since they were on their side. It turned out Sweet Tooth did it just for fun. Mike was afraid he might be next and tried to shoot Sweet Tooth, but Sweet Tooth anticipated it and stopped him. He ordered Stu to kill Mike, but Stu couldn't kill his friend and jumped out of the car with Mike. Stone was attacking Sweet Tooth's car, but crazy Sweet Tooth jumped onto Stone's car and tried to break the windshield. Stone shot him in the stomach. Finally, Stu and Mike appeared, hitting him with a car they had just stolen. Quiet wanted to end this battle, turned the car around, and sped toward Officer Stone's car. The two cars collided and flipped over. Stone managed to survive, pulled Quiet from the car while she was trying to wake John, who was unconscious. Stone was about to kill her, but John appeared, threw an axe at him, nearly killing him. Quiet stood with a gun, ready to shoot him, but decided to let him die slowly in pain or let him commit suicide like her brother did. Indeed, Stone chose to commit suicide. Amber managed to survive despite the explosion in her truck, but her friend died. Watts was also alive. A little later, John and Quiet finally reached San Francisco and delivered the shipment. But Raven refused to let Quiet enter the city, saying the deal was for John alone, not both of them. John said he would leave with Quiet and didn't want to enter the city. But Quiet didn't agree with this and pulled out a gun, shot John in the shoulder, and asked the guards to take him inside for the medical team to treat him. They took John into the city, and she went her own way. It turned out the shipment John struggled to deliver was ice cream, and after all that, it was just ice cream. But Raven didn't want the ice cream. She was testing John's abilities because she wanted to give him a bigger mission. A month later, John had recovered from his injury and was living in a nice house alone. Although he was living a life he never dreamed of and eating the best food, he missed Quiet terribly. He went to Raven and told her he wanted to leave the city to look for Quiet. She tried to convince him to stay, offering him more privileges, and took him to the house where he lived as a child with his family. She gave him pictures of him with his parents. When John saw those pictures, he recalled memories and remembered escaping with his father's car on the day the world ended. But even after the pictures and memories, John was determined to find Quiet. Raven had no choice but to tell the truth, saying she recruited John to enter a competition where the rule was to survive by any means. The best drivers in the country would participate in this competition, and the winner would get a big prize. Raven's plan was to use John to win the competition and take the prize herself. On the other side, Quiet was walking on the road when someone threw things at her, damaging her car's tires. She found herself surrounded by a group of women with weapons. Their leader told Quiet she needed her help to find her brother John. And with that, we reached the end of the first season. Thank you for watching.